Get ready to experience the Unity Shabbat Kum, a celebration of praise and glory to the Most High Yah, hosted by Congregation Beit D.C.B. Join us on May 25th, 2024 at Shell's Loft, Brooklyn, located at 120 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. This event promises a day filled with spiritual upliftment, community unity, and joyful fellowship. Come together with fellow brothers and sisters to honor and worship as we celebrate the divine presence in our lives. For more information and to reserve your spot, contact us at 347-622-9090 or email us at info@baitdcb.org. Don't miss this opportunity to connect, rejoice, and experience the power of unity and faith. Once again, brothers and sisters, experience the beauty of unity and faith at Unity Shabbat Kum, presented by Congregation Beit D.C.B. Join us on May 25th, 2024 at Shell's Loft, Brooklyn, located at 120 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. This special day is dedicated to praising the Most High Yah and coming together as a community and worship and celebration. Whether you're seeking spiritual enlightenment or simply looking to connect with like-minded individuals, this event offers an uplifting experience for all. Reserve your spot today by contacting us at 347-622-9090 or emailing us at info@baitdcb.org. Let's gather in unity and embrace the spirit of togetherness as we honor the divine presence in our lives. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.
By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. By the rivers of Babylon.
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York, giving glory and praise to the Most High King of the universe for all things, life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thanking the Creator for another week, for another new week, and thanking Him for life. So many of us take it for granted. Many people did not wake up this morning, and we never take things like that for granted. So early Shabbat Shalom, as this show is pre-recorded, and it's aired on the Shabbat day, so I wish you all early Shabbat Shalom. And I pray that the Most High Creator of heaven and earth will continue to be with each and every one of us, those of us online that listen and that tune in. Giving honor to the Most High once again, and we're going to move straight ahead. I'm going to pass it on to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah, who will be going over the portion, the Sidra portion, Pekudei, and also we'll be covering today Proverbs 23 as he continues in the Proverbs as he does on a weekly basis. Shalom, shalom. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, let's give praise to the Supreme Judge of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Due respects to the platform on the D.C.B channel platform, spiritually Chief Prince Yariel Ben Saska, the host Chief Uzael, to the Princess Chief Kohanim, Rabbinate, Maureen, brothers and sisters, visitors. Greet you in the tongue of my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, and early Shabbat Shalom. And I'd like to start off with Adonai Septaji Takofia Gichi Ateaka, O Lord, Om Dama lips, and my mouth should declare that praise. As Chief Uzael was speaking on, I'll be highlighting some points in Pekudei, which we're getting ready to go into the very end. We're closing out the second book of the Chumash, which is the book of Exodus, out the 5 books. So we were getting ready to close out on this particular week, and also that we'll be making a new saga in our life, and as we go from one book to make a transition to the next book. So what is interesting is that we basically had 4+ chapters dedicated to the building of the tabernacle, and we had this and YAH. What you have in YAH is that's the first time when Moses come down and assemble the people. Just this portion before that. Excuse me. Let me just let you know it starts from the 38th chapter. 38th chapter of Exodus, 21st verse. That's what we'll be starting for those that might not keep it with the Sidra. On the portions, the way we break it down. So from the 38th chapter, 21st verse to the end of Exodus, that's what we'll be covering in Peko Day. And YAH, which means, and he assembled, Moses called the people together. At that time was the first time they got any idea, as I said before, that they was going to have a great undertaking of building a particular space, for creating a building for the Creator, for pretty much his presence to dwell within us. So now, we talk about, and I want to make some contrasts as we go forward. So when we read Teruma, this is when Moses got the details about the tabernacle the first time, and he was supposed to pick up offering. That was on the mountain. I must say that again because some people might think they got that information then. Moses had for 40 days. It wasn't just getting those tablets alone, the first set of tablets. He was getting a lot of information how things should be functioned and how to help the people draw closer to God, in their actions. So he got the information about the tabernacle. Then the people obviously didn't get the information at that particular time because they had committed a trespass by allowing to have a golden calf built in their midst. So naturally, Moses had destroyed the calf, had to make a sort of an atonement for the people and go back and pray to God to ask him to forgive the people. So we know that after that, Moses up there for 40 days, we find that all that detail in the book of Deuteronomy, the missing parts that we might not see here, and as we're reading in the book of Exodus. But we also find that when he came back down and carved out 2 other stones and brought them up, the last time he came down 4 days later, his face shone. And that's when they was a symbol to build and bring the material to bring the material for the Mishkan. So in YAH, where we left off at, they just supplied the material for the tabernacle. Here in Peko Day, they actually had completed the work and finished the work. As we look through this particular portion, it's a lot of things that's going on. Peko Day, it says, and we use as an accountant. Now, out of all things in Scripture that we read about, and we read about 3 things God told people to actually build. I mean, in general, and that was told Noah to build the ark. He told the children of Israel to build the tabernacle. David came up with an idea for building a more sturdy and permanent spot for the Creator. So therefore, the Creator gave him designs that he passed on to his son Solomon so that it be built according to the Creator's specifications. Now, out of all the stuff we read about, the three things in which I find interesting is that we know what material the ark was made out of. We know the dimensions of the ark. All right. And then when we get to skipping past to when Solomon built the temple, we know pretty much a lot of the dimensions and some of the things that was put in the temple. But here, what makes this chapter so unique and Pekudei, even from the onset, before we even get to Pekudei, is that we know not only the dimensions of this fabric, as far as the house that we're supposed to build, the tabernacle. We know the length, the width, the height. We know the material, and we know what each material is supposed to be used for. And we have an account of how everything was used. Matter of fact, as we read earlier, and before that, prior to that, that the people brought so much material in YAH that Moses had to restrain the people from bringing stuff. Because so in YAH, the people, Moses called them, gave them instructions, they left and came back. And he said, well, one thing you can think of, and that strikes me, is that why the restraint? Because it wasn't just that he told them to stop, but it talks about that he had to actually restrain them from continually bringing the offerings up, and for the building of the tabernacle. Well, some people had so much stuff. Maybe a person had enough stuff that he can only carry at one shot. And say, I had all this I want to give, so I only could bring this much right now. But as soon as I drop this off, I'm going back to bring some more stuff because I had all this. He wanted this. I got a lot of that. I'm going to bring this up. And somebody would say, I got a lot of this. I'm going to bring all this up. But I got to make 3 trips. You know how you move out from one spot to another spot? So it wasn't where, when they brought the amount, they were so free giving in the fundraising, the first fundraising that you read about, and the national project, because we read about all great edifices in history. Tower, of Babel. We read about the storehouses and cities that the Israelites, had, worked in and built. But you never find out about how much material was ever used. How big was those cities? How did they really, really function? This is the first time in the annals of human history that I know of, and I could be wrong. But the annals of human history, that we got a detail of a project that's going to affect our lives, for more than 480 years, and then go through another transition. That's one thing I want to share with this particular Pekudei. Also, the word means not only accounting, but it's also like in this form of remembering, to something that's really precious. So you find that word, I think the first time you find it used was with Mother Sarah, when she was going to have the son Isaac, when she was going to have a child, and it said, and the Lord remember her, and he used the word, pakad, the Creator remembered. So it took account of her. So that means right then and there, this is more than just an accounting work. And here it is, you read where later on Joseph told the children of Israel to take account of you. And then Moses was told to go to the elders and said, the Lord remember them, but the word is used, it's the same root, from Pakad. And Pekudei is like not only I want to be forgiven, but for what I did, 'cause I know I messed up. But do I still have value with you to coming back into the society? Is my work still have value? As we get into the Proverbs later on, and especially in society like today, a person could get charged with a crime, as they say, pay his debt to society, do time and incarceration, and when he come out, there's certain things he can't, certain jobs he can't hold. So now he paid his debt to society in full, but the society will say pretty much that's not enough. So here it is, when we sinned against the Creator with the golden calf, then was our debt paid in full, and we could go on with society. And this is a testimony. And as we get ready to go further in, and look at the word Pekoday in the opening. One of the openings I like to read the simple opening of Pekoday. And then in the 21st chapter, it says, 21st verse of the 38th chapter. These are the counts of the tabernacle, even the tabernacle of the testimony, as they render according to the commandments of Moses, through the service of the Levites, by the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron, the priest. And Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made all that the Lord commanded. And with him was Holiab, the son of Akisamah, the son of the tribe of Dan, a craftsman and a skillful workman, and a weaver in colors, in blue and in purple and in scarlet and fine linen. All the gold that was used for the work and all the work of the sanctuary. All right, so now, when we look at Pekoday, God never told Moses to give an account of what he used everything for. So that gives you to show you that leadership would do not only what is good, but what is right and good. So the thing is that to be transparent. A lot of times we in different organizations, you have fundraisings and building projects, but the most argumentative part of most organizations is the treasury report, the financial report. And it's so much so that we ever did an audit. And an audit is a little different, a lot different, matter of fact, not just a little, a lot different than a treasury report. And a lot of people don't realize that this is not a treasury report. Moses here is given an audit, which is used, much more intense, so that shows that he wanted to show that what I asked for, you could see. I'm explaining not only what I needed for, because the Creator said what I needed it for, but also this is where it's placed. The silver socket, a socket of silver weighed a talent of silver. That's one socket, a talent. So when we talk about the structure of the tabernacle itself, we're not talking about something that's really big, really that big, but it had a lot of weight and a lot of, and the beams, had a nice size to it. But when we deal with the height, the length, the width, and the materials that's being used, a nice size, pretty much an open space, big open space, maybe a living room or something like that, will be the size of a tabernacle. It's not no grand like football field type thing. but it'd be a nice size of when we look at the dimensions and then do the math and trans cubits from cubits feet to cubit to regular feet as we use in America. You'll find out that's really not that big. The actual tabernacle itself, the tent. And then what's interesting, as it opened up, it uses two terms here that seems redundant. It uses, well, in Hebrew it's Hamishkan, Mishkan, Ha'adut. Now, Ha'adut means testimonies or witnesses, a witness. So now we got to say, well, when we talk about the tabernacle itself, what are we, why do you use the term strike twice? Is it two? Is it two different things it's talking about? Because at the beginning of the Sidra, it talk about, HaMishkan, and then it says Mishkan Adu. But what's missing is the word and. So, it's talking about the same individuals, same item. It's no two tabernacles in a sense. Sometimes you might read certain things, and when Moses' tent became a tent of meeting at one time after descending the golden calf. But when we look at this, it's focusing on this particular tabernacle that they erected there, as opposed to Moses' personal tent when they had messed up for a moment while building and erecting this one. And the tablets itself, it's called, the Lukot Adu, So, the tablets of a testimony, those with those 10 statements, that's 10 statements or 10 words that's put upon it, the matters that's put upon it. Those are called, witnesses and testimonies. And that's also part of our contract. So when it's letting you know that it's one and the same. But what I find interesting is that the hop Torah goes on with it, and I'll try not to be too long in this particular portion. It's just so much I could speak on. But when we look at this enterprise here, and Moses started to itemize and be transparent about how everything was used, then you say, why all of a sudden that we made this particular spot, for God to dwell, but yet he said he want to dwell in us. So if you're not going to dwell in there, why did we have to make it in the first place? And then these are some of the things that, you could ponder and think about. Because it said that there's a place where, where the Creator is supposed to dwell, but it said that he wanted to build him a house so they could dwell within us and not necessarily in the house. So these are some things that we got to look at. And then the tabernacle itself being the first thing we erected, why it makes it a little bit more, what makes a temple that Solomon built in contrast better than the tabernacle that the Creator had first initiated for us to have. So these are some of the things that you might want to ask and discuss. And then the sanctity of the tabernacle as opposed to the temple. We're looking for a temple to be erected, but we never ever was looking for another tabernacle to be erected. So now you say, well, why is it that they have like fast days and we are so concerned about a temple being erected as opposed to, a tabernacle being erected, and then when we think about the temples and what the tabernacle was, it was a place where God supposed to, say what we just say in general, Supposed to dwell in a space. We created a space for God to dwell on earth. So I mean, we had an invite. So when you have a spot in the neighborhood, you become part of the neighborhood. If you got a house or whatever it is, a condo, you become part of that neighborhood. So we built something, and the way his house was set up, it's like an invitation with a table, some bread, sweet incense, a nice ambiance, and you had some, as he would say, cooking out there in the courtyard, so it's really an inviting thing. But when we talk about the tabernacle and look at it, it said the tabernacle existed for 480 years. All right. That's how long it existed, 480 years. First temple existed for 410 years. The one that King Solomon built. The one that Ezra and them built lasted a little bit longer, 420 years. So now, looking at other dynamics, we had a space that was sacred for God for close to 1,300 years. Can you imagine that? Give or take a few more years over. So we had a spot that was actually sacred to God for 1,300 years. That's how much, that was our holiest spot, where it was. And then now, when we talk about the tabernacle was said, and when we read about the journeys of the children of Israel, we read about basically 42 journeys that the children of Israel had in the wilderness. But we don't read now one spot that's sacred. And then we know they had the tabernacle. But the 42 journeys, the tabernacle traveling with us, the 42 journeys, now one spot out of 42 journeys, we could say this was a sacred spot, or that was a sacred spot. But with the temple, we could say that spot was sacred, and that spot still is sacred. So now we got to ask ourselves the question, what makes the spot sacred? And being the longest we read about the tabernacle being in one particular location was in Shiloh. And that's like 360 some odd years. All right. So over 3 centuries or something, the tabernacle stayed in Shiloh in the territory of Joseph. And that was pretty much the go-to spot, for over 3 centuries, more than 3.5 centuries. But yet, Shiloh is not a holy spot. Yet the tabernacle itself stayed there long. You read it stayed maybe 7 years here, 4 years here. And we know the first spot where we dropped the tabernacle off when we crossed the Jordan was in Gilgal. That's where we stayed. That's where we observed the first Pesach. And yet Gilgal is not the holy spot. Can you imagine that? Though we crossed over the Jordan, Gilgal is not the holy spot, and yet we circumcise ourselves there, for a second time, as they say, and also they roll away the approach from Egypt, and the tabernacle is there with the Ark of the Covenant. So why is that not sacred? Why is it only that spot, Jerusalem, when the tabernacle moved or disappeared, the spot no longer sacred. When we was at Mount Sinai, Sinai was sacred for a moment to when the ram horn sound loud and stuff like that, and the Creator left. Then you could go back up on that mountain. Sacredness is over with. When we go, anywhere, and disassemble the tabernacle to travel and follow the cloud by day or the fire by night. All right. The tabernacle is no longer on that same level. So what makes the tabernacle so sacred? And what makes the temple so sacred? Where the temple spot is still sacred to this very day. Where the tabernacle moved, we could be walking in Israel right now, in certain territory where the tabernacle actually sit down and have a picnic, if the weather, is cooperative, and we wouldn't even know. We find out that Jacob, on his way, Jacob didn't even know where his father sacrificed Isaac. Can you imagine that? While he was running, and he had that first dream of the angels ascending and descending, he said, wow, God was in this place, and I didn't even know it. So, and Isaac, Abraham took 3 days to find a spot where he's supposed to offer up Isaac. But do we mark that spot? Did we go there? Jacob, when he had that dream, he tried to mark the spot and pour oil in the stone so he could recognize the spot when he passed back there again. And that's before a tabernacle. Can you imagine that? So what I'm saying is that what makes the tabernacle holy and what made the spot where the temple is holy? Then hence we go back to the first opening lines, Hamishkan Adut. The tabernacle of testimonies. The testimonies is actually those tablets that was put in the ark. Now, just bring some more thought to consider is that the actual, we know in time of Eli's time, we pronounce it Eli, but I'll just say for everybody else that's listening, Eli's time, that when the war with the Philistines, when they had the war with the Philistines, that his sons that was corrupt, Phinehas and Hophni, they when they fight the Philistines, they brought the ark out, and the Philistines had slain them and took the ark. So now, when they took the ark of the covenant, and when they took the ark of the covenant, we know what's so strange about it, and I'm just focusing on this opening lines here. And just to bring out some thought before I go into the Proverbs, because there can be a lot of stuff to be discussed, or you could talk with your teachers and leaders in other areas about the items and stuff like that. Is that when they took the Ark of the Covenant, the Philistines, they took it to several cities, and they, they're having all kind of problems, plagues and stuff hitting down, destroying their gods and stuff like that. And the Philistines put some ornaments inside the ark, something we're not supposed to touch. Put some ornaments inside the ark, put it on a cart, and a couple of milk cows, and say wherever the cows go, that's where the ark going. They wasn't trying to even send it back to where it came from and where they took it from in the first place. They said, wherever it goes, let it go. And it went to this individual house who we find out later on, that, David went to get it later on, many years later. So what I'm bringing out here, and I want us to think about it real clear, is that the ark itself, once the Philistines took it, and it having never ever went back inside the Mishkan, the tabernacle. It never went back inside the tabernacle. The next time we read about the ark going anywhere, inside of a building per se, a major building, was when Solomon brought it up with the elders and the leaders of the tribes to the temple in Jerusalem. So now we're back at square one. Was the tabernacle holy with the ark there or not? Because, and what the children of Israel were sacrificing at, what they was doing, why they had these, they went to a spot, a thing where, and I'm bringing up a stage, I'm setting a stage, so to speak, how that because of our inadequacies, once the ark was taken from by the Philistines, even David never brought it back to a tabernacle. When he brought it back, and he had a big fan thing when he was able to walk 6 paces, after he had one bad saga, and then all of a sudden he got it, and had the priest carry it. But you notice they never carried it back to the tabernacle. You had places like Nob, different things like that. And they existed. And you read about it and read about it later on. But you don't read about the ark going back there. So where was the children of Israel bringing their sacrifices? What they was doing with their sacrifices? For all that time, all those years, when the ark was not there. And the only way, and when the cloud moved and the ark was taken out, that spot is no longer sacred. And then and I'm just going to bring this on the stage before I go into Proverbs. I said I'm going to be a little short today, in that area. But it's much more I could bring out in reference to the sanctity as that we're looking for, a temple to be restored. In most prayer books, we're praying for the temple to be restored. We never talk about the tabernacle being restored. All right. And we want to restore the temple in that exact same spot. Not in a different spot. So when we look at those areas there, and we say, okay, why is it that we have two different terms? Mishkan, from the word to dwell, the Shekinah, which is to dwell. And then you got, Mikdash, from the word, Kodesh, which is a sanctuary. So why is what Solomon built is called a Mikdash, and what we built in the wilderness is called a Mishkan? So we're looking for a sanctuary as opposed to a place where, for God, for creating a dwelling place for God. And then you notice, for those that might, follow in the Hebrew, when Solomon brought the ark, later on, I'm just going to fast forward because I don't want to be too long. But it's a lot I could go into in this area here, which is, very interesting in comparison. When Solomon brought the ark itself, had it brought to the temple, it says he made a Mishkan, a dwelling spot for the ark. Inside the temple, a dwelling spot for the ark. But the building wasn't called a Mishkan. He created a particular location and spot inside for the ark. You notice when the temple was destroyed, I just want to bring some things out just to think about, because I know a lot of times we might fast forward through these particular chapters of the tabernacle, when we go on all these 4.5, chapters about, the building and the making of the tabernacle and everything like that. And yet we don't look for a tabernacle in the future, but yet we're constantly looking for a third temple to be erected in the future. When the Babylonians destroyed the first temple, they had the ark. Now I know they got some, legends about the Ethiopians, they had possessed this ark, what you call possessed, stole the ark and left a replica, I don't adhere to that. And I know they have the thing about the Greeks had the ark. But what's interesting is this. One of the Roman generals, I forgot exactly who it was. I'm not sure it was Titus or whatever, but but it was a Roman general reported before they destroyed the temple, the temple that was built, the second temple, is that he went looking to see what was the, all this hoopla about how sacred this is. And I'm bringing this story up, that you could always, go back and look it up yourself. And when he went in there into the second temple, he didn't see anything. He couldn't find the ark or anything like that. And the quote supposed to have been, what'd you expect for people that got an invisible guard? They whatever they hold dear must be invisible because I don't see it. this supposed to be a quote of one of the destroyers of the second the temple, itself. When they destroyed Jerusalem, Titus, I believe. Yeah, what do you expect from a people that have an invisible God? So whatever they hold dear must be invisible because I don't see it. So the thing is that it's always different viewpoints that the foundations of the temple is still part of the temple building. People could destroy the top of a house, but the foundation of the house might still be left. And you might have subterranean, cabins within the building itself, but it's still part of the structure. Excuse me. Part of the structure itself. So when we look at it, is that the ark never was taken but that one time, and we know Solomon put it in there, and he said he put it in a spot, a dwelling spot, especially for that. That means, was it the Holy of Holies like the other spot? And we know it was the Holy of Holies, but we know that the level ground, it wasn't no tunnels or dimensions and chambers in the tabernacle. But in the temple, you find out you had a storehouse, a treasury house. You have other little compartments here inside the temple. You have foundations being laid. So those things there, we got to understand that that sometimes people could have just brought it in. There's a lot of legends, and he put it down, deep down when the people didn't really. We know according to the story, you've seen the pole sticking out when Solomon put it in, but then he also created a space, for it, and that's actually stated there. So, in the Haftorah, that most of that Haftorah that the Ashkenazi used for this particular time, because you have two traditions: the Ashkenazi view Haftorah for this particular Pekel day, and then you have the Sephardic Haftorah for the Pekel day. And the one that Ashkenazi uses read twice a year, once now with Pekel Day, especially when it's separate or combined, and then also around the time of Sukkot, that they use the same Haftorah. But so much for that. I'm gonna go straight into the Proverbs, but there's a lot more to be explored, and in comparison and the sanctity of comparing the Beit HaMikdash, which and the temple, and also keep in mind that we had a spot dedicated for the Creator for over 1,300 years. Only people on earth. All right, continue. All right, Proverbs 23.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 23, starting from verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
When thou sittest to eat with the ruler, consider well him that is before thee.
Okay, right then and there. All right. In a time when most times rulers or kings had the power of life and death, you got to watch your mannerisms. You got to watch your P's and Q's. You just can't go out there and start joking and carrying on. And as we say, be yourself. You know what I mean? You better be on your guard and not be yourself, because one wrong statement, could cost you your life. And at time, if the ruler is not a pious individual, we know that. Well, that's another story. I don't want to talk about my great man David. What his issues, that he had to deal with when he was king up by himself. And I'm not even talking about when Saul was, dealing with him. All right, but continue.
Verse 2. And put a knife to thy throat if thou be a man given to appetite.
All right, I put a knife to your throat. Now that sounds drastic. You know what I mean? If you're a glutton, put a knife to your throat. I mean, you got to threaten your own self. You know what I mean? So, and a glutton, that means right then and there that you act like there's no tomorrow. And also the thing is, you're not about trying to share. So you're not looking to consider anybody else. If you're a glutton. So you're going far above, your threshold of humanity. Below your threshold of humanity, I should say. All right, continue.
Verse 3. Be not desirous of his dainties, seeing they are deceitful food.
Okay. That means when we're gonna get to it more, but let me just go over everything that's dealing with this Proverbs, because I'm gonna be going really fast in here. All right, but in the Proverbs, we have, certain aspects that open up concerning this particular proverb, and a lot of it explains itself. You're gonna deal with, when you sit with a ruler, and then talk about your appetite, how you be at the table and stuff. We're going to talk about how your eyes are with riches, what you're looking for riches. So they're going to, talking about eating and drinking. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff in the Proverbs. Labor, not to be rich, child training, instruct knowledge landmarks, speech to fools, parent authority, parenthood. And it seems like every proverb is talking about evil women, drunkenness. But we're going to move on from there. So, continue.
Hallelujah. Verse 4. Worry not thyself to be rich. Cease from thine own wisdom.
All right there. Some people, that's all they think about is getting rich. And it said, you're going to kill yourself and wear yourself out. And it is no guarantee you're going to maintain it. So that's not your focus in life. And if you focus on just getting rich, then you're not focused on how you could be a service to humanity. How can you be a service to this world? Can you make an impact in this world? So a lot of us come and go, and more often than not, 3 to 4 generations, we're not even a memory in our own family. Once you make a transition out of here. So what we try to do is leave, a good name and a legacy. And that's what it is. But if you focus on just being rich, then not only you make yourself a target, you don't know if you're going to be able to enjoy it. It's a lot of rich people, false wealthy, need a heart, need kidneys, got a certain blood disease, and can't eat certain foods. Can you imagine that? The things that allowed for you to eat and enjoy it, you can't even enjoy it. So that's why I said don't focus on being rich. That's the wrong focus in life for a human being. Continue.
Verse 5. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon it? It is gone. For riches certainly make themselves wings, like an eagle that flieth towards heaven.
All right, right then and there. Solomon, he let you know, and he was one of the richest man, that ever lived. One of the richest men that ever lived. I know you talk about this guy named Musa or somebody in Africa, but it's relative to the time. Yeah, thank you, Master Musa. Yeah, but it's relative to the time, how much you have, and what you consider real wealth. All right, continue.
It reads, verse 6, eat thou not the bread of him that have an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainties.
All right. Now it don't mean a guy that got this mystic power that could look at you with their eyes, and you go through you become deformed because they just look at you and stare at you, or you start throwing up, or you start floating with the evil eye. It's not like that. It means right in that evil eye, that means that he has no good for you in mind. That's what it means. And the individual has no good for you in mind. And that, you got to be careful about, because he has no good for you in mind. He's trying to set you up. Continue.
Verse 7, For as one that hath reckoned within himself, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee.
Okay, right in. Normally, more so in the ancient times, but because you got to think about when we're reading this Proverbs now, we got to think about the aristocrats and the leaderships back then when you come into an audience. One of the things I like to bring out is that one question I ask people: how do you make an invisible God, a symbol of your daily life? And one of the things that Moses did when Impeccable Day, when he blessed them, he used the word Maaseh Yadechem, which means bless the works of their hands. So, and one of the things, that when you say bless the work of your hands, he was talking about the Mishkan itself, the tabernacle, that when he blessed them. And the 7 things that's mentioned in the creation story, what God did concerning the creation, all those 7 things is extrapolated from the building of the Mishkan, where Moses did when he seen the work. The work was finished. It was good work. Work was good. He blessed it and all that kind of stuff. There's 7 different things that's used in the creation story in Genesis that's referred to the tabernacle itself. So when he said bless their hands, we know that he was, off the top, it's directed toward the tabernacle itself. But we know when we come to a building, you go to a synagogue, or those that's into churches go to a church, or those that go to a mosque go to the mosque. They know they be on their best behavior when they go to those different spots. And because they say this spot is, special. I got to watch my mannerism. I got to watch the way I dress. I got to watch my words. All right. So, but when you travel alone on your daily activity, do you watch your words? Do you watch your mannerism? Do you carry yourself in that same high level of respect and dignity as you would if you went to a mosque, a church, or a synagogue, or something like that, where you worship at? So that's what Moses is basically trying to say, that do you still carry that godly thing in your work? That's why when you say, Maaseh Yadechem, bless the work of their hands, even though it's a reference to they just finished the work of the tabernacle itself, is that when you travel every day, do you travel with a godly attitude where God can actually dwell within you? And that's one of the essence of the tabernacle. He created and wanted to dwell in the tabernacle. He wanted to dwell within us. But we made an invitation when we built the tabernacle and created that space. All right. So that's why most people, if you sit around most leaders in ancient times and kings, you there for their purpose, not for your purpose. They invite you because it suits them. Now you might enjoy being in the presence of them because like we were coming up on Purim now, and we talk about the Haman, the king invited me so and so to this banquet. All right. But the king got the power of life and death. But you might feel, oh, I'm prestigious, man. He invited me. He invited anybody else. He invited me to this banquet, him and the queen. All right. So we got to be careful about, because anytime you're invited, it's always for the leaders of those times benefit. That's why we had certain rules for the king in Israel. Very few of them, observe them, but there was rules concerning the king in Israel, and we know what the rules were. So it ain't like he's seen the rules and we didn't know what the rules were as well. We know the rules that he's supposed to be binded by. All right, continue.
Verse 8, it reads, the morsel which thou hast eaten shalt thou vomit up, and lose thy sweet words. Speak not in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of thy words. Remove not the ancient landmark, and enter not into the fields of the fatherless.
Okay, and let's hold up there just for a minute. All right. Now, when we talk about, let's deal with the first one. Speak not in the ears of fool, for he would despise the wisdom of thy words. All right. Now, that's a person that's going to be brutish. Don't want to hear anything you have to say. In that sense, so that's what it's telling you about, and some people, no matter how much you talk to them, they refuse to hear, they refuse to accept it, so that's why even in our way of life, in the prophecy, it told the prophets to tell them whether they hear or forbear. So they was commanded to do certain things like that. So now when you read this Proverbs here, you say, well, what the prophet said, look here, these fools, man, ain't going to listen. They ain't going to do that. The Creator override that and said, look, you tell them anyway, whether they hear or forbear. So, and sometimes you got to, if you are commissioned by somebody of authority, then you got to carry out that authority. But if you, but other than that, then it still might not like you because they didn't like a lot of the prophets. And it said in our history, we killed some prophets. All right. And then it goes on to say, remove not the ancient landmarks. All right. So ancient landmarks is that was easy back in those days. Like I said before in the last talk, we didn't have fences around our property, in that respect. Continue.
It reads,
9.
verse 11.
Okay.
For their Redeemer is strong, he will plead their cause with thee. Apply.
All right, that means you're taking advantage of people. Keep going.
Apply thy heart unto instruction, and thine ears to the words of knowledge. Withhold not correction from the child, for though thou beat him with the rod, he will not die. Thou beatest him with the rod, and will deliver his soul from the nether world.
Okay, right then and there. All right, now. You don't mean beat them to death now, but some people could go overboard. But you still need that corporal punishment. And you say, well, why are they going back again about family? Certain things they repeat a lot in the Proverbs. Throughout all the Proverbs we read about behavior, we read about fools, read about wicked women, read about children, parenting, and stuff like that, and correction. We read about being modest. Having discipline. We read about all that over and over again. And it seemed like one time should have been good enough, but some things had to be drummed in. And now, and one of the things is that when we're speaking about the child, all right, and it tell you, the way to say it, withhold not correction from the child. All right. That means right in there that you don't want you see him bent out of shape, going this way and that way, and you say, he'll find out, he'll realize. No, you can't let him realize that. You got to straighten him out then, because not only are you supposed to be a brother's keeper, but the parents, according to scriptures, is held accountable by the Creator for how they rear their children. That's why even in the Decalogue itself, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children. You didn't rear them up right. You didn't give them the right instructions. They still persist. When we read about the kings, he said, you walk not in the ways of so-and-so, your father. You walked in the ways of such and such. And it was talking about kings. They're supposed to be out of a certain line in Yehudah. Or if it wasn't out in the northern kingdom, they'll say, you walk in the ways of so-and-so who ain't even related to you. So you're not even following a pattern, of your, way of your own family upbringing. And then goes on to say, I beat him with the rod and would deliver him from the nether world. That means from death. That's all. Because if you don't beat them, a child will get out of hand. They're going to step to the wrong individual, and the wrong individual ain't going to have that compassion. Because no matter, for most sane people, and I should say most sane people, when you have to spank your child, you see a little part of you in that child that you say, man, I don't like that. And my father didn't like it. And, you know, and I don't like to see it either. So I understand a little bit more. And I'm trying to save him from going through the problems I went through. Many of us, when we graduated high school, we say we wish we would have did better in high school. We just were ready to get out of there. I got just enough to get promoted. Man, I'll be glad when school is over with. And I'll be glad when I get out of school. So most of us was trying to just get by. And when we look back, we always think about, I should have spent more time studying this. I should have been more disciplined in this area. We always think about what we should have did, but we didn't do it at the time. You know, I should have listened to so-and-so when they said such and such. I might need to be able to do this. I might need that one day. All right. But we have those things, and you're trying to save the next generation from going through those problems. But continue.
It reads, verse 15, my son, if thy heart be wise, my heart will be glad, even mine. Yeah, my reins will rejoice when thy lips speak right things.
Right then and there. One of the greatest things I see around, you know, and certain brothers, you know, and chief men in this way of life, you know, and I be proud of them too. You know, I be proud, you know, when their sons and stuff get up there and teach and expound in scriptures about God, about moral principles. And, you know, I know the father guy feel proud, you know, about the son teaching, you know, off a pulpit or a beamer. Because I feel happy for the child, you know, the young man or, you know, a young lady speaking in that frame themselves, because now that gives me more security of the future. You know, because everybody's going to be replaced in some point in time in life, but you feel more secure about the future. So when you hear a young man or a young woman, you know, speaking godly things, you know, and they're speaking about humanity, you know, and being more human in their life, and speaking about certain moral principles that's conducive to God, you know, then you should feel proud about it and be excited. Because I'm excited when I listen to young people say that, because you really don't expect for them to be watching that deep. And then when they do watch that deep and express it, then you say, okay, so that's how they're thinking. So you get another look at a person you're already looking at. Continue.
It reads, verse 17, let not my heart envy sinners, but be in the fear of Yehovah all the day. For surely there is a future, and thy hope shall not be cut off.
Keep going.
Hear thou, my son.
Yeah. Before I get up, sorry about that. All right. Some people, when they see people doing evil, wicked stuff and seem to prosper, that's a lure for you. You don't know how far they're going to go, you know, because one of the Psalms said, David said, I've been young and now I'm old. Never have I seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. So, you know, and the thing is that we know, and when you believe in a higher power, the creator, we know automatically that no one gets away. We read about in Kitasa, the Sidra before, concerning the revelation at Mount, when Moses went up in the mount to plead for the children in reference to the golden calf. We read that God is long suffering, but in no wise will let the guilty go. You know, so, you know, he's merciful, but in no wise let the guilty go. He told our father Abraham that the iniquities of the Amorites are not yet fulfilled. So that means that the Creator tolerating them for a while, giving them a shot, long suffering, but they said they're not fulfilled. They didn't reach their limit where I need to act yet. So sometimes people don't know when a person say this is a straw that broke the camel's back, you know, reach your limit. So, and so when you deal with kids or people, you know, you got, you got to say, well, I got to set a certain bar, a certain line that they're not supposed to cross. Continue.
It reads, verse 19, hear thou, my son, and be wise, and guide thy heart in the way. Be not among wine bibbers, among gluttonous eaters of flesh.
Keep going.
For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags.
All right, we'll stop right there. All right. Now, drinking wine, we didn't look at it, in ancient time, as medicinal purposes. What I mean? Stuff like that. Or for psychological, thing. It was supposed to be a moral situation. All right. But it says, be wise. Wine bibblers is also a wine bibbler. That's all he do, just drink. Most people that's an alkie or alcoholic, the first thing they want to do is drink. They can feel bad and sick, and they say, I need a drink first before I decide to try to take care of myself. That's an alcoholic. I need a drink first before I decide to take care of myself. I know people that's such an alcoholic that they would drink and won't eat. No matter what the food is, they'll take a couple of bites of the food, but they'll drink. Whatever they're drinking, much as they can drink, much as their body can hold, and they're destroying themselves. I know people that had liver problems, and they was told not to even drink. Because they keep drinking, they're going to die because their livers are going to be destroyed. They stop for a moment and go back to drinking. Most people, and so that's why I'm biblical. And a lot of times when they go to these 12-step programs, you might have been off of alcohol for 13 years, and you in that 12-step program, the meeting, and you say, my name is so-and-so, I'm an alcoholic. Well, you haven't drank anything in 13 years, but this is what they want you to, always remember, or I'm a drug addict, and haven't dealt drugs in 13 years. So this would, the book recognized that these people existed back then, and gluttonous eaters of flesh. We read about the quails in the wilderness that, we just fled up on the quails, and it said the Creator slew, it said the fattest among them while it was even between their teeth. You're already endowed with extra waste in your body. All right. And yet you're still gluttonous. Continue.
It reads,
Shalom, brothers and sisters.
Verse 22, it reads, hearken unto thy father that begot thee, and despise not thy mother when she is old.
Okay. But most people get rid of their parents, so they can't tell me nothing anymore. And I seen, because I'm working the system, as a train operator in New York. So you see a lot of stuff, especially when you work nights. And kids telling mom, "Oh, you ought to shut up. You ought to, shut that up." I mean, and I said, "These kids telling their moms that, I see kids hit their parents. I mean, little kids be hitting parents, and sometimes, you hear people bragging, teenagers bragging, when I was up there in the train, or if my mama tell me so-and-so, I slapped so-and-so, tell me about who I can't go or where I can't go and what I can't do. So this is when things get out of hand. All right. So, and when they get older, they're weaker, so sometimes you might have to take care of them, look at them, so a lot of times, if you don't listen to a father that begot you, when are you going to listen to a stranger? And then your mother, then when she's old, who nursed you, she might need help. but you don't want to be bothered with her. Now it comes to a point where sometimes you might won't be able to take care of them, adequately, and you might get assistance to take care of them. But the thing is that a lot of people get upset that their mother need taken care of when they get old. They get upset about that. Oh man, I got a life to live. Now he or she trying to ruin my life. They live their life. Why can't I live mine? But they live their life bringing you up. So where was theirs? Continue.
Verse 23 reads, buy the truth and sell it not. Also wisdom and instruction and understanding.
Okay, right then and there, buy the truth and sell it not. So that's pretty much self-explanatory there. In other words, you invest in knowing what is right, what is true, what is lawful. There's a subtlety difference between facts and truth, because some can be temporarily a fact that might be difficult at this point in time, but it may not be true that's difficult all the time, where certain accomplishments can be made. But continue.
It reads, verse 24, it reads, the father of the righteous will greatly rejoice, and he that begetteth a wise child will have joy of him. Let thy father and thy mother be glad, and let her that bore thee rejoice. My son, give me thy heart, and let thine eyes observe my ways.
Okay, keep going.
For a harlot is a deep ditch, and an alien woman is a narrow pit. So she also lieth in wait as a robber, and increaseth the faithless among them.
All right, right there and there. Now, that's a woman, telling us something. It could be a woman or a father telling his son, say, my son, give me thy heart, and let thy eyes observe my ways. All right. So in other words, say, I'm teaching by example, teaching you by example, because I see where you're headed at, and you mesmerize. They had this thing, when I was coming up as a young man, they said, are you in love or you infatuated? And I said, well, I really didn't understand much of difference between infatuated and love. It just sounds jazzy when the old person said, are you in love or you infatuated? I didn't know what that meant anyway. I just know that infatuated. Since I said I'm in love, because I don't know what infatuation is as a young guy. What they call that puppy love and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times, the parents might be trying to save you from yourself, saying you ain't ready, you don't know what it is. Your criteria is too low. You don't have a standard to say whether this person is worthy of your love or not. All right, and let you know that a strange woman, narrow pit. And just like she's looking for you more so than you look for them. Some what you say, gold diggers. Some women, be like that. Some men is, might be like that too, but more so in ancient times. We got to always look back how the times were, and that's what I'm saying. Not that men don't do certain things today, but I'm saying, and that they didn't do it back then. But the time and the element in society that this Proverbs was written in, had a different, a different moral standard back then, if I would say. Continue.
Verse 29, it reads, who crieth, woe? Who? Elias. Who have contentions? Who have raven? Who have wounds without cause?
Keep
who
going.
have redness of eyes?
Keep
They
going.
that tarry long at the wine, they that go to try mixed wine.
Keep going.
Look not thou upon the wine when it is red, when it giveth its color in the cup, when it glideth down smoothly.
Keep
At the
going.
last it biteth like a serpent, and stingeth like a baselet. Thine
Okay.
eyes, go ahead.
Keep going.
Thine
Keep going.
eyes
We're going
shall
to
behold strange things, and thy heart shall utter confused things.
Keep
Yea,
going.
thou shalt be as he that lieth down in the midst of the sea, or as
Keep
he
going.
that lieth upon the top of a mast.
Keep going.
They have struck me, and I felt it not. They have beaten me, and I knew it not. When shall I awake? I will seek it yet again.
All right. Now I wanted to finish
So
that
it's
out,
like a
but
poem.
that's I wanted to finish that out because that say who tarry long, who suffer hurt without cause. He that tarry long at the wine, because you get tore up from the floor, fall down, bust your eyes, bust your nose, and everything like that. And, and the next day, before you could get over the hangover, you say, "I need to do this again." You know, and it's almost like, being seasick. You see something, you say, "Well, look, I need to get rid of it." So you're barf overboard, whatever the case is, and you still try to take something. They continue the same type of ride. Some people say, "I like the way it feels to get high." I like to feel zooty. And then you find guys and people today that say, "I'm going to get zooty." I say, "Zooty? Well, you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna get me some drinks and stuff like that. There, you know what I mean? Have a great time. You know what I mean? But when they say zooted, that means they're gonna go overboard. They're going overboard. And here, he let you know right then and there. Now, wine itself is not a problem. It's the excessive drinking of wine that can become a problem. Don't you know that even in this country here, they had prohibition, but they allowed for wines because of religious reasons, you know, communions and different things like that, for kiddish and stuff like that, So, and people like Morgan Davis and Madden Chevy said, "Look, you stepping into the business. This is a religious act. We only could say certain prayers if we had wine. We can't do it with grape juice or something like that, So when we look at wine, and then in some communities too, they get the kids wine early and a little bit too much wine early too. And one of the things about that, it's not in this society, and I want to just bring this out. In this society here that we're in, it's illegal to sell alcohol to minors. All right? It's illegal to buy alcohol for the minor, and when the minor give you money, you buy it for him. It's illegal to do that. But it's not illegal for a minor to drink. Can you imagine that? Okay? It's illegal for them to buy it. It's illegal for you to buy it for them. But it's not illegal for you to allow them to drink it. So we got to exercise caution and be on the right side of issues. And I hope you got something on what I said. Any mistakes been my own. Sorry, I went a little bit long. I try to be a little bit more brief, but consider some of the points that I brought out in concerning the Mishkan and with the tabernacle and the temple to celebrate Hamikdash. And it's worth reviewing a little bit more. And then those that's coming into Purim, those that are enjoy themselves and celebrate that, which is an interesting story. One of the things was wine. We had an alcoholic king that we was under. So I figure it's appropriate because the king was definitely an alcoholic dude, and you partying for 6 months. So that's an alcoholic, but nevertheless, that's another story. And we probably address some of that stuff after Purim. So everybody enjoy their time, and I hope you have a good Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem. Any mistakes been my own.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Praying that the Most High God be with you and everybody have a good Shabbat sleep. And pray that the Most High God will bless you all. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.
And don't forget about the event in May.
Yes, don't forget about the event in May, our Unity Shabbat, May 25th, and following that, our Night of Elegance, May 26th. Got the flyers and everything, so yeah, just come out and support. Shalom, shalom, family.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.
Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Get ready to experience the Unity Shabbat Kum, a celebration of praise and glory to the Most High Yah, hosted by Congregation Beit D.C.B. Join us on May 25th, 2024 at Shell's Loft, Brooklyn, located at 120 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. This event promises a day filled with spiritual upliftment, community unity, and joyful fellowship. Come together with fellow brothers and sisters to honor and worship as we celebrate the divine presence in our lives. For more information and to reserve your spot, contact us at 347-622-9090 or email us at info@baitdcb.org. Don't miss this opportunity to connect, rejoice, and experience the power of unity and faith. Once again, brothers and sisters, experience the beauty of unity and faith at Unity Shabbat Kum, presented by Congregation Beit D.C.B. Join us on May 25th, 2024 at Shell's Loft, Brooklyn, located at 120 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. This special day is dedicated to praising the Most High Yah and coming together as a community and worship and celebration. Whether you're seeking spiritual enlightenment or simply looking to connect with like-minded individuals, this event offers an uplifting experience for all. Reserve your spot today by contacting us at 347-622-9090 or emailing us at info@baitdcb.org. Let's gather in unity and embrace the spirit of togetherness as we honor the divine presence in our lives. Hallelujah.